Welcome to Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wilding in the stand. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gonna be our year. We're here drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring. Yeah.
What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds. This is the Royal Rebounds Podcast, live with Calvin and Barry. We're having fun here. We are discussing Sacramento Kings 109-108 loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Alex Len starts tonight. Neemias Queta plays. We have a little bit of insight there, Cal.
Yeah, I was really, really happy to see Queta out there, and I was also really, really happy with what I saw from him on the court. The fact that he finished the game there at the end speaks volumes for not only how he was playing, but the trust that the coaching staff is in him already, and it was the right move. I mean, he had the size, and he has more athleticism than Alex Len. He has the ability to play in space better, which against this team was I think, absolutely the right move.
Yeah, we'll be right back with your nightcap. We're here. I'm drinking a beer, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing to the channel. This is your Sacramento Kings nightcap. So, as we mentioned, Cal, Kings lose tonight 109-108 to the Cleveland Cavaliers. De'Aaron Fox has a chance to win the game at the end there. Comes up just a little bit short. What are your thoughts on the game tonight?
Well, like everybody is saying in the chat here, it was obviously refreshing to watch a competitive game rather than a game that they just lose from start to finish and they're never in. And in this game, the Cavs had all their players too. I mean, not Colin Sexton, but they haven't really had him all season. This was pretty much their full roster, and the Kings still battled with them. Not a good matchup for Sacramento at all. You know, the Cavs really built their lead by going inside, and that is obvious with the height and size advantage that they have. Kings were able to battle back, took advantage of the Cavs taking too many threes. They did not shoot well from three tonight. But in the end, the Cavs went back to their advantage inside, despite a heroic effort from the Kings late. Just wasn't quite enough. But at the end of the day, I know this is still a loss, but it was refreshing, and I was happy to actually watch this game as opposed to the last few.
Yeah, you're right. Much more competitive than the last few games against the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know, the Kings were up 5 points in this game at one point. They were down by 13. They were down at the end of every single quarter in this game. You know, a good quote from Mark Jones in this game. They played good defense for 21 seconds of the shot clock. I think, you know, if anything sums up a Sacramento Kings season, it's that right there, right? Is 21 seconds of great defense, and either they let up a good shot or they let up a rebound. Second chance points definitely killed the Kings this year. 15-4 run by the Cavs to end the first quarter. And, yeah, another Kings loss.
Another Kings loss. Yeah, it just felt like when the Cavs initially got up to that double-digit lead, the Kings would play well in spurts, and they would start to work their way back. They'd get it to 7, 6, 5, but then there would be a back-breaking play, you know, whether it was at the end of the quarter or the end of the half. Cedi Osman hits some ridiculous three, you know, at the buzzer the end of the first quarter. Rondo hits a 30-foot three. You know, those are not shots that you would expect to go in, but the Cavs got them to fall repeatedly. So it's just it was unfortunate in that regard that even when the Kings were playing at their best, the Cavs still found ways, and that weren't, you know, what you would expect. It wasn't an alley-oop to Jared Allen or going inside to Evan Mobley. It was these other plays that you think probably 9 times out of 10 aren't going to go the way that they did. So unfortunate there. It's already hard to come back against a team like this, but when you get those plays on top of it, makes it that much harder.
Yeah, and a double-double for Darius Garland tonight. Also a double-double for Jared Allen. We saw some good plays by Kevin Love. We saw some good shots by Cedi Osman. A really, really tough night tonight for Sacramento.
Cedi Osman is like that guy when you go play at the rec center and you look over and you're like, this guy isn't really that good, right?
Yeah.
Like I got this guy. And then all of a sudden he's making some crazy three. He just is so frustrating. Like I couldn't imagine playing against him. The whole time I'd be like, what the hell, man? We can't stop this guy? Come on.
I mean, I remember first watching this guy, and LeBron's on the team, and LeBron's like, he loves this guy. And I'm like, why, dude? Why does LeBron like this guy so much? Because I didn't feel like he was that great of a player, but apparently his work ethic is up there with the best of them, and he just continues to get better and better.
Well, he's a very quintessential role player, right? Like he's never going to try to do too much. He knows exactly what he needs to do on this team. He's a 3-point shooter and a cherry picker.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
Yeah. I mean, Vivek should like that, right? I want to give a couple shout-outs here. Makami, B. Walston, Fred, John, Kristen, Summer Lowe.
Shout out Mike Monticello with
Joey,
our first Hey Monty of the night.
Yeah,
and
Brendan,
it's a good one. Don't let Alex Landis shoot the 3. That is 100% correct.
Mike, Gothan, thank you guys all so much for joining us. We are happy to have you. Calvin and I, and Muhammad, Calvin and I love doing these lives because it gives us a chance to hang out with you all and have a good time. And we are ready for another awesome Royal Rebounds podcast. Hope you're all ready too. Make sure you guys smash up that like button. What's up, Jeff? How you doing? So yeah, as we mentioned, Kings lose again. One thing I saw, an interesting stat I saw during this game was between December and January, Tyrese is leading the league in 3-point percentage.
Yeah, another fantastic game for him. He seems to get more and more confidence from shooting from the outside every game. His stroke is beautiful. He does need a little bit of he doesn't have the quickest release, right? So he can't just catch and fire it up, kind of like Harrison Barnes did a few times tonight. Harrison Barnes, it was like as soon as he touched the ball, it was out of his hands. It was crazy.
Yep.
But Tyrese, that being said, the guy can really stroke it from outside.
Yeah, I'm digging that shirt you got on there.
Oh, thanks. Shout out to my mom and dad. They got me a Kings Team Store gift card for Christmas. So I got my new shirt and my new hat here. Hella proud. I guess I'm hella proud of the effort tonight because they didn't get the win. But, yeah. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad.
That's awesome. Joey says, I want Tyrese to average 15 shots a game.
It's going to be tough playing alongside De'Aaron Fox. I'll just say that. But,
yeah.
I mean, I can't really argue with that. I want him to shoot more. I think everybody wants him to shoot more. I still find there's like 3 or 4 times a game where I say out loud, shoot, or shoot the first one. He'll catch the ball and he like pump fakes, and then he does this like crossover, and I'm like, no, man, just shoot it right away.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we've all played pickup ball with those guys, right? Where you're like, you throw them the ball and then they just pass it up again, and you're like, no, man, I gave it to you because you were open. Just shoot the ball. Shoot the ball. Shoot the effing ball. What's up, Ethan? I see you in here. Trade Fox, problem solved. I don't know about that, but thank you for the comment. All right, Cal. I want to jump here into the box score. You ready for that?
Let's do it.
I think before we do that real quick, I want to remind you all, you can follow us on Instagram at Royal Rebounds. You can check us out on Twitter, Royal_Rebounds. Or if you want to cop some fresh gear or check us out, just check out our website, RoyalRebounds.com. Make sure you guys hit it up. Bottom left corner of your screen should have all that information here. And hey, if you want to advertise with us, if you got an awesome brand, you got an awesome business, you want to be part of the Royal Rebounds podcast, we can put your logo down in the bottom right corner. Just send us an email, send us a text. Yeah. We'd love to have you here.
If you brew your own beer, you can send us a sample, and we'll drink it.
Exactly. All right, let's jump here into the box score, Cal.
All right, so we'll start with Tyrese Haliburton, 21 points on 8 of 16 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3, 8 more assists, 3 steals, 1 block. He was big time. De'Aaron Fox struggled shooting, 5 of 14 from the floor, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. That's all I'm going to talk about with the starters because the bench showed up tonight in a big way. It was one of my keys to the game, actually. Yeah, Buddy Hield, 19 points on 7 of 11 shooting. Might have been his best shooting performance all season. 5 of 8
Kyle
from 3.
Draper was one night early. On his prediction.
Yes. And he actually had a great all-around game. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, no turnovers. I said to our producer, Vinny, during the game, this may have been his best game of the season, actually, all things considered. Definitely wasn't his best scoring night, but his overall all-around game, I thought, was really good. And then Neemias Queta off the bench with 24 minutes, 11 points, 5 rebounds. I really loved what I saw from him. Metu played well as well, 5 of 11 shooting for 13 points. The Kings bench only scored, I think it was 22 points last night, and tonight they had 49.
Yeah.
And they played a better team tonight too. So,
you want to highlight anybody on the Cavs?
We can highlight Jared Allen for sure. 18 points, 17 rebounds. The guy was a monster. Evan Mobley was his usual
What team starts 3 7-footers?
It's crazy, man. And they get away with it too. Not just get away with it, like it actually works for them because of the style of play of these guys. Markkanen is like a perimeter player for a 7-footer. Mobley had 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. And then, Cedi Osman and Kevin Love, big time off the bench, 15 points and 18 points, respectively.
Yeah, a couple things that really stood out to me tonight. You know, the Kings shot 46% from three-point range, almost 47%, as opposed to 29% for the Cavaliers. You don't see that very much.
That was the reason the Kings kept it close.
Yeah, you don't see that
the Kings kept
very
it close,
much in a loss for the Sacramento Kings. 5 more rebounds tonight for the Cleveland Cavaliers. 9 more assists. You know, the Kings had 10 steals tonight, 3 blocks, only 12 turnovers. 12 turnovers for Sacramento, 17 for Cleveland. You know, points in the paint are pretty even. Fouls are pretty even. But Cleveland just, you know, they were a bigger and a better team tonight.
Yeah, it was just too much size, too much inside. Pick and roll is something that the Kings struggle with all the time, and having to guard the pick and roll against all these 7-footers who can both roll to the rim and step out and shoot the 3. I mean, you don't play teams like that very often. They're a really difficult team to guard. And Darius Garland had, you know, he's been playing really well all season long. He really struggled in this game. 5 of 13 from the floor. Did have 11 assists, but I thought the Kings did a really good job on him, especially in the first half. So it's unfortunate that, you know, you take away one of their primary players and you still can't quite come up with the victory.
Yeah, we saw Alex Len start tonight. Obviously, the Kings are missing Richaun Holmes big time. I think this is his, 6th consecutive game that he's missed. 10 rebounds tonight for Alex Len, 2 of 13 from the field. He attempted 2 threes, missed both of them, 4 points for him, 1 block, 1 turnover, 2 personal fouls. What'd you like, what'd you dislike from Alex Len tonight?
What I liked was just that he continues to use his body, his frame to battle inside. You know, that was something that the Kings really needed tonight. I was really happy, though, honestly, to see Alvin Gentry go with Queta late in this game, because Alex Len, there were times when he would get switched up, or Jared Allen wouldn't even be in the game. He would be guarding Evan Mobley or Lauri Markkanen. He has no chance against those guys. He just can't stay with them. He's a very traditional in-the-paint center. Queta actually has the foot speed, the defensive athleticism to be able to move out onto the perimeter and guard some of these guys. One of the things I love the most about him was, we talk a lot about pick and roll defense and how the Kings struggle with it. Queta is one of the only Kings big men that I've seen this year actually hedge and push the guard out further away from the basket off of the screen.
Yeah.
And that's huge. That's absolutely huge. If your guard can't get through or can't get over the screen, that pretty much neglects or negates what the opposing team's trying to do and get the ball to the rim. It makes that roll and lob a lot harder because now you're moving further away from the basket. You got a 7-footer in front of you. And he has the speed to recover back. So I really liked what I saw from him tonight, and I hope that the Kings don't send him back down to the G League anytime soon. I think he needs to play more.
Yeah, I agree. Bobby Jackson's been doing a great job with him. Hopefully, Alvin Gentry and Doug Christie can continue on that. I love what I saw from him. 24 minutes tonight, 11 points, played great defense. Only 5 rebounds for him tonight, but I think he had a big impact on the game. I see Skip here. Skip, you want to join us for the second section? Hit up Calvin. We'd be happy to have you if you want to join us for Around
Anytime,
the Crown.
Man, we'd love to have you.
Yeah. Maybe here in a little bit if you want to call in, you're welcome to. All right, Cal. We saw Marvin Bagley start again, 20 minutes tonight, 8 points, 10 rebounds. What'd you see from Marvin Bagley tonight?
Just more of the same. He continues to be an absolute beast on the offensive glass. His timing is great. Just the positioning they have him in on the court, that's by far and away the best attribute that he's bringing to this team right now. He still needs more development offensively. The guy really only has 2 moves. It's a pump fake, drive to the left-hand hook shot, or it's a pump fake, jab step to the left, 2 dribbles to the right, spin move back to the left-hand hook shot. You can be effective with those moves, but if it's all you got, it's going to be hard, especially on a team that has a lot of size. It's going to be really hard to score over and over again using that same move like we saw tonight. He struggled to get shots to fall at the rim. I really wish that he would develop maybe more of a mid-range shot. We know he struggles shooting the 3, but I think if he had a solid 15 to 17-foot jumper, that would add a dimension to his game that would then allow him for that pump fake drive to the left to be a little bit more devastating against defenses. But other than that, I just continue to like to see the fight from him. And they definitely needed his energy early on in this game. He was the only guy I felt like that came out of the gates really, really ready to play.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've continued to praise Marvin Bagley after being very critical of him at the start of the season. We won't go back into that stuff, but very happy what I've seen from him as of lately. I'd like to see a little bit more than 8 points from him. But as you mentioned, they don't run a lot of offense through him. So Marvin Bagley's points are basically clean up. He's kind of garbage guy down below, grabs rebounds, puts back, stuff like that. De'Aaron Fox tonight, 31 minutes, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. Not a great offensive performance for De'Aaron Fox tonight, but, I thought he was very engaged in the game. Unfortunately, he missed that shot at the end. It was a little bit short, but what'd you think?
We're a little zoomed in here, Vinny. It was one of those games where he struggled to get his shots to fall. I thought he was taking good shots for the most part. He never really got into much of a rhythm, and he kind of sat for a while in the second half, especially the fourth quarter. I was a little surprised. When there was about 6 minutes left, that was right before the Cavs went on that final run that really put things away. I was thinking in my head, where is Fox? They need to put him back in the game. They were struggling to score at that point. Davion Mitchell, he played better than he has over the past few games. He still was good on defense. Got a few more shots to fall, but at the same time, I was thinking man, they need Fox right now. They need a little shot of energy, that speed, It's a game changer defensively. And I was glad to see Fox hit those 2 free throws at the end to pull it to 1. After missing both free throws in Charlotte that could have won the game, good to see him knock those 2 down. And at the end, he got a good look. That's right in his sweet spot. I did think they were coming out of that timeout, and I said, I hope they run this play through Tyrese. They didn't, which makes sense. Fox is supposed to be the guy,
He's your
right?
guy. Yeah.
So you go to him, but I really think that they should have run that last play through Tyrese, especially after the game he had. He was having a really good fourth quarter. He had a good mismatch on him, too. He had Markkanen on him for most of that fourth quarter, which, you go at that matchup all day long if you're the Kings. So unfortunate to see that, and unfortunate that he missed the shot.
I mean, we talk about him being the best player on the squad. Was it right for him to take that last shot, in your opinion?
Was it right for him to take the shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was right. I mean, like I said, he got to his spot on the court. He got a shot, a look that he has hit over and over and over and over again for a long time now. He struggled, obviously, early on in the season, but that's a shot that I will live with De'Aaron Fox taking 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
It didn't go in tonight. That maybe it was that 10th time, or maybe and like I said, I would have liked to have seen, just because of the way things were going in the game, maybe Tyrese get the ball. If he didn't have a shot, maybe he could kick it to Metu or Buddy Hield, who had been shooting a lot better as well. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with him taking that shot.
Joey says, I felt like on that last play, the Kings took too long to get the offense going, spent half the time left on the clock just getting Fox the ball.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, there is something to be said about starting the play early enough so that if the shot is missed, you have an opportunity for an offensive putback or a rebound and a second chance opportunity. But again, at the end of the day, when you get a shot that you normally feel pretty comfortable with about the player taking that shot, whether it's with 3 seconds left or 1 second left, it doesn't make too much of a difference, I think.
Yeah, I agree. You getting Skip all situated?
Yeah, I just sent him the link to join the Zoom.
Perfect. So. All right, we'll have him join us in the second part. Afghan says, Bagley is no bueno. Bagley has a better second jump than Luka, though that's why we took him. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. No use living in the past. Luka's not on the team. Bagley is, and you got to be happy with whatever you get out of him.
Right. Neither Barry and I are saying that he's lived up to the number 2 pick or that he's better than Luka or anything like that. But at this point, you got to just evaluate what you have. 3 or 4 years in? 4 years in, right?
4th year, yeah.
And given the way he started with not playing and him and Luke Walton being completely disconnected, what he is giving them right now is very important. This is not a good rebounding team. Everybody I've seen in the chat is like, fuck small ball. Well, Marvin Bagley is one of the bigger guys on this team, so he actually gives you some size to use at the power forward position. He's not an all-star, but he's a guy that can definitely help them in some areas here.
Yeah, and the Kings actually made some shots tonight. We talked about last night. They only scored 88 points in that game. We talked about they just need to make some shots, and they actually did make some shots tonight. Only 108. I like to see them score a little more than that. But, they were able to make some shots tonight. It's another game at home.
Well, and again, remember, this is a really good defensive team. The Cavs allow the second fewest points in the league, so it's hard to score on this team.
Yeah, and they're a much better Cavs team than we give them credit for. And, everyone thinks the Cavs, they're like, oh, no LeBron James. The Cavaliers, like, oh, they should lose. The Cavaliers should lose. But this Cavs team is actually a good team, and they've done a great job building around this squad. I love Jared Allen. I love Mobley. I love Garland. This team is actually a very, very good team.
Hey, Monty, I hope you were watching the game tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Take a look at the Cavaliers. You could learn a thing or two.
And we'll touch on that in our second subject here. But I want to touch on my guy Tyrese. 36 minutes for Tyrese tonight, 21 points, 2 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, a block. We saw him jump in the passing lanes again. I think he's one of the best guys in the league at doing that, because every single game I constantly see him just jumping out, grabbing a ball. It seems like almost like the ball is passed to him on the defensive end of the floor, and he just grabs it, and then everybody runs down the court. What do you think about Tyrese's game tonight?
He played a hell of a game. He was good in all areas tonight for the Kings. And, yeah, you're right. He's a very, very smart player. It's clear he watches a lot of film, because if you're, standing directly in the area where a pass gets sent to time and time again, it's because you either are watching a lot of film, you know what they like to run, or when a certain set or a certain look happens and he's in the off ball, all NBA teams have 2 guys in the corner on pretty much every play.
Yeah.
Because that's the game. It's pick and roll, drive to the middle. You're either looking for an easy shot, you're looking for that lob, the defense collapse, you have your release valves out in the corner for threes. Mm-hmm. He knows that. So he always seems to be able to cut off that corner pass from the weak side.
Yeah, we saw Kevin Love have a good game tonight. 18 points for him, 2 of 8 from three-point range, 21 minutes. We also saw Dean Wade, 5 minutes tonight play. Osman, we saw Rondo playing pretty well for them. Another tough loss for Sacramento. Not that you and I expected them to win this game. We've been looking ahead and we're saying, okay, well, these games against the Rockets might be the Kings' next opportunity for a win, or maybe against the Pistons. I know they play the Lakers on Wednesday night, but this Kings team is just, as much as I love the team, I think you have a point where you come to and you say, this is not a good basketball team. And I think that's where I'm at. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. They're not a good basketball team. We've been talking for I don't even know how long about the same things over and over again. They got to make changes. They got to make some moves. The roster's got to change. Do they either blow it up and go for a total rebuild? Do they make a desperation type trade, somebody like a Ben Simmons that you think could help immediately? Whatever it is, something's got to happen, because the same thing cannot continue.
Yeah, I agree with Fred here. The Kings first need an identity, 100%. B. Walston's talking about how empty the arena is. You and I mentioned that a couple games ago. I know the hashtag, boycott the Kings has been trending. Not something that I really support, but I understand people's frustration. I understand the goal. And, Monty hasn't made any bad moves, but how long does it take to not make a move before it becomes a bad move, right?
Yeah.
So, I definitely feel your guys' pain here. B. Walston says under 5.5 years till the Kings are sold to Vegas. I think that probably would have happened more likely if the Maloofs held the Kings, because Maloofs have a lot of ties to Vegas. We heard about Steve Ballmer trying to buy the Kings and move them to Seattle. The vet kept them in Sacramento. But, yeah. Kristen says,
the fans have spoken. Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys.
I thought you wanted Peja.
Well, my whole thing was that after so much tough games and so many difficult losses, that Peja, just like the rest of us, was actually refreshed to have watched a good competitive basketball game, so he was going to turn around. But I understand now you guys are way more observant, and it's heard. Your opinions are heard, yeah. So he's turned around.
Peja's not happy right now. Brendan says, if you look at the 18-19 highlights, first the Kings, everyone was everyone was having fun and playing faster, completely different now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of truth to that statement. I thought they played faster tonight, definitely faster than I've seen them play in the past few games.
Yeah. And it's, nobody's having fun at this point because they're losing games and everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else. It's something I mentioned about, firing Luke Walton was everyone wanted Luke Walton fired. And, I was in that boat too. But once Luke Walton's fired, it's like your scapegoat is gone.
Yeah.
So who does it fall on now? Is it Tyrese's problem? Is it Fox's problem? Is it Harrison Barnes? Now everyone's looking at Fox. They're all looking at the GM and they're saying, do something, do something. I've seen some funny memes of, the guy with the stick poking and he's like, do something, Monty, do something, make something happen. Responsibility is falling on these guys now because Luke Walton was shouldering that load, and now that he's gone, it's got to fall on somebody else. Can't be Luke's fault at this point. But, the Kings are still losing basketball games.
Yeah, they indeed are.
And 18-19, they were probably on a better streak right now than they are. Kristen says, I think we'd be in a much worse situation if Luke was still coach. I don't know. Silver
It's
lining.
very, very possible. It's hard to really say. I'm not sure, but.
Hair and Beard Podcast says, I didn't expect to win today. The only thing helping me is that my Raiders are in the playoffs. Yeah, I agree with you. And actually, if you want to come on the podcast tonight,
talk about a hell of a game.
We'd be happy to have you. We're going to have Skip and Tosh here in a little bit. But if you want to be on the podcast as well, just send us a message on Instagram, and we'll get you on right after Skip's done. All right, Cal, what else you want to talk about this game? Kings lose 109-108. We talked about, another good rebounding game for Marvin Bagley, Alex Len. I think Tyrese Haliburton played the best out of all the starters tonight. Buddy Hield was contributing from the bench. We saw Queta. We saw Metu back playing well. But, the Kings still lose this game.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's a 1-point game. It came down to the last shot. This is a really good team. They battled back multiple times in this game. So, yes, it is still a loss. But there are, and I know it seems difficult in the midst of a 5-game losing streak and another disappointing sub-500 season, but there are lots of positives to take away from this game. The question is, now you have to actually they talk all the time in the Kings organization about stacking days. This is a day that you could stack. You could get better from this game. I'm not saying they could turn around and make, the 4 seed in the playoffs, but you can build and get better off of this game. The question is, do they do it? Do they continue to play hard on defense? Do they continue to make big defensive plays in key moments like that Fox poke away from Evan Mobley down the stretch there? Those are plays that, a couple weeks ago you wouldn't have ever dreamed of seeing from the Kings.
Yeah. You want to touch on your keys of the game?
Yeah, we can go over those real quick. I already kind of touched on one of them. The bench production was big, and the Kings got it in spades tonight with 49 points off the bench.
Oh, man. Horseman Healed. That's hilarious. When Calvin's done, I got to hear how you came up with this nickname.
Yeah, because we have a name for him that's very similar to that. Number 1 is shoot well from outside. And the Kings, for the most part, they did that. I mean, not for the most part. They definitely did that. 46 and 46.7% from 3 is probably one of their better shooting performances from 3 all season long. And number 2 was everyone hits the defensive glass. The Cavs are such a tough team to rebound against, but the rebounding was pretty even. It was only +5 for Cleveland. Sacramento actually had 1 more offensive rebound than the Cavs. So they did a good job for the most part on all these keys, and they had a chance to win the game, as a result. All right, but let's go back to the Horseman here.
Well, real quick, looking at the team stats, it's pretty wild thinking, that the Kings had more shots in this game. They made more threes in this game. Free throws, they took more free throws. They made more free throws. Rebounds were pretty even. A lot of these stats were pretty even, and the Kings lose the game. So for me, it comes down to toughness. It comes down to overcoming adversity. And, the Cavaliers are just a team that's in a better position than the Sacramento Kings. They have more confidence. I think the coaching staff trusts the players more. And, that's not a knock on Alvin Gentry or anything like that. It's hard to trust your players when you're constantly losing games. But you just see more consistency through this Cavs team than in Sacramento.
Yeah, definitely. For me, it comes down to just late game execution. The Cavs executed their plays down the stretch. They went inside to their advantage, whether it was Allen or Mobley. They got timely bucket after timely bucket, and they corrected the fact that they were shooting too many threes early in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
I'm sure JB Bickerstaff looked at them and said, you guys, what the hell? We have so much size on this team. Pound the ball inside. And that's what they did. They went on a big run. And in the end, the Kings battled their way back, but late game execution. Fox hits this shot. We're all celebrating a win tonight.
Yeah, Brendan says, without fans, they lose more hope and players play worse. Kristen agrees. B. Walston doesn't agree. He says it makes them work harder to put a better product on the court. How are you feeling, Cal, with that?
I'm not so sure. I mean, as a player, yeah, you definitely do draw from the energy of a full crowd for sure. But in terms of not having fans in the stands as extra motivation, that I don't really buy necessarily. When I was a player, and I don't want anybody to misconstrue this, I didn't play in front of 20,000 fans or anything like that.
Not yet.
But whether it was a packed house or there were 10 people in there, that didn't really change my focus on the game. And if you're a player and that does change your focus on the game, then you need to do some adjusting on how you think, because that's not going to make you be an effective player, period.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I'm just trying to get somebody in here to join us for the next section.
Yeah, Skip says he has a slight technical issue and he's working on it.
It's all good. We'll get everybody in here to join you guys, and we'll hear some awesome insights. So as far as the game goes, anything else you want to touch on, Cal, here? Mo Harkless didn't play tonight. No Tristan Thompson. No Woodard. No Ramsey. It says Thompson was out due to a right quad injury. He's usually available. This is like the NBA's Iron Man. I know he had a record for like most consecutive games played. Tristan Thompson, they brought him in to be a defensive presence, to get rebounds. My girl, she always laughs because she says he's the Kings' biggest cheerleader. And I think
I think he is, for
he's
sure.
Probably the most expensive cheerleader. I think he makes like $11 million or something this season. But playing a game against 3 7-footers, you'd think that Tristan Thompson would be involved. I don't know how bad the right quad injury is, but when you're missing your starting center, you need other guys to step up. And I expected Tristan Thompson to play a much bigger role in tonight's game.
Yeah, but in the end, it might have been a blessing in disguise because Queta got to play serious minutes, and I thought he was really effective. So, silver lining, I guess.
Yeah. So what do you expect from Queta in the future? You talked about you didn't want them to send him back down to the G League.
No, I think he needs to keep playing.
And he's more of a center, power forward to you?
Oh, he's 100% a center.
Okay.
100%. He's got a good-looking stroke at the free throw line, but I don't want him to be taking mid-range shots or threes anytime soon. But he has a really nice touch around the basket. I mean, we saw that really nice kind of half layup, half floater. It didn't count because it was after the shot clock expired. But that was a nice move. Dribble from the free throw line. He's got such a huge wingspan that he can get that shot off just about against anybody. I think he got it off over Evan Mobley, who's got an incredibly big wingspan himself. I already talked about him on defense. He's really good at moving his feet. I mean, that's what this guy was advertised to be, was a great defensive center. Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Year in college. Averaged like 3 blocks a game for his career or something like that. I think he's got really good instincts, really good timing. So So, I think that this guy's ready for NBA development. Like, he needs to get out there and play some minutes.
Yeah, and it's something that you and I have both talked about that the Kings need is they need a rim protector. And they have a rim protector. Everyone's been talking about trading and, signing guys. They have a guy that is a rim protector. He's been stashed in Stockton working on his game. I like Queta a lot. It's just, where does he really fit in on this team, especially when this team is healthy? You mentioned he plays better at the 5.
They have a ton of centers on this team.
They need a 4.
But all the more reason for them to trade some of these guys, right?
Yeah. Do you think him
Clear
and Rashawn
up some
Holmes,
playing time for him?
You think him and Rashawn would fit together in the 4-5? Would you play Rashawn at the 4 and Queta at the 5?
I don't like playing Rashawn at the 4 just because Rashawn, their games, you want them in the same spot. You want them screening your primary ball handler, rolling to the basket, looking for a lob or a dump off inside. Both of those guys are going to play the same type of way.
Yeah.
And in today's game, you don't have those two traditional low post players out there at the same time anymore. You need more floor spacing. The Kings need more shooting overall on the court. So I don't necessarily like the idea of playing them together. And I don't know if Queta's ready for a starting role just yet. I think he has the potential to grow into that spot for sure. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see him come off the bench at the 5, play more minutes. I would be totally happy with trading Tristan Thompson, Alex Len, even maybe Damian Jones. If you're going to get back a starting power forward or some shooting, some wing depth in return for that, and you have this guy that you can then fill into that role at the backup 5, I think that's a good move for the Kings.
Yeah, we talked about how there's so many point guards in this team, so many big men on this team, but they really have a lack of depth at the wing position. You got to make some moves. You got to shuffle these guys around to fill in these extra positions and, make sure that their depth is at every position and not just at 2 of them.
Right.
And that they have a starting quality shooting guard, a starting quality power forward. Phoenix says, is there a point where you are completely done with this franchise?
I'll let you take that one.
I mean, it's been 15 years since they made the playoffs. So I still am very, very convinced that this team will overcome the hump. I am still a Kings fan. There probably is a point. I just don't know exactly what that is. I think I'm going to be a Kings fan for the foreseeable future. If it's 10 more years and not making the playoffs, I'm probably still going to root for the team as long as they're in Sacramento, as long as they're trying. Obviously, I want them to make the playoffs. I want them to get better and better. If I need to be the GM of the team to get them back to the playoffs, I'm willing to take on the job. But I'm not ready for that yet. So I'm going to stick with the Sacramento Kings. And, if I need to move back to Sacramento and I need to take on GM duties to get this team back to the playoffs, I'm ready.
Hey, you have my vote.
Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
And I got some good trades I want to talk about here in the next section, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that.
Everybody's
Joey says
favorite topic, right? Vinny, hit the air horn.
Yeah. Joey says Kings for life, baby. Yeah, I am. And Kristen says, unfortunately, I'm the same. I'm stuck with this goddamn team. 100%. The more time you watch them suck, the better you feel when they actually win. I agree with all you guys. As long as they're in Sacramento, I'm going to root for this team. And, honestly, even if they move, I'll probably root for them too. When my Rams move from St. Louis back to L.A., still a Rams fan.
I can't really imagine a world where I don't still, some part of me doesn't still root for the teams that I've always rooted for.
Yeah, exactly.
I just can't really imagine that.
He really doesn't, Michael. His moves are predictable and soft. He gets stripped and or loses control of the ball all the time. His defense isn't great. Obviously not particularly great at anything. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Who are we talking about there?
Afghan is talking about something somebody said. Oh, maybe Bagley. Oh, no. But Michael says, I prefer to see him start over Bagley. He's probably talking about Queta.
Skip says he's ready in 3 minutes.
I can't root for a non-California team. Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm not rooting for the Lakers. So that leaves me here.
He'll be in there in 3 minutes, but
that leaves me here rooting for the Sacramento Kings, and I'm gonna continue to root for the Kings. I don't care how long it takes. We're making the playoffs, and it's gonna be sweet when it does. And one thing that you guys should all just remember is that the longer it takes for them to get good, the better it is, the sweeter it is. And everyone's going to remember, all the fair weather fans are all shaken out by now. And as soon as the Kings get good, you guys are going to see it. All your neighbors, all your classmates are going to be like, oh, I'm a Kings fan. I've been a Kings fan. I was born in Sacramento. I've been rooting for the Kings.
It sounds like we're talking about crypto.
I know.
It's like, oh man, people have been telling me about Cardano for years, and it was supposed to go to $10 this year, and it sucks, man. I'm just losing money on it.
Everybody bought it $3,
yep.
And now they're in the shit. Yeah, I mean, I root for the Warriors too, but I'm a Kings fan, man. I was born in Sacramento, so I got to go for my Kings. And, back to what I was saying, it's going to get sweeter and sweeter. And just, look yourself in the mirror. If you're still rooting for the Kings, if you're watching this podcast, you're a real fan, because real fans still root for their teams no matter what the record is. And like I said, they're going to get good one day. They're going to turn it around, and then everyone's going to pile on. They're going to be like, my mom's sister was born in Sacramento, so I'm a Kings fan. Or I went to Sacramento when I was 5 years old. I'm a Kings fan. All this. They're all going to pile in here, and you're going to know you're a real Kings fan, and we're going to know too, because we see you all in the chat. And when this blows up and we got 1,000 people watching us and they're all going off in the chat, I'm going to know B. Walston is a Kings fan. I'm going to know Phoenix is a Kings fan. I'm going to know John is a real Kings fan. I'm going to know all y'all are real Kings fans because you have been here, and it will get better. Trust me, it will get better. All right, Cal, you want to talk any more about this game? You ready to move on?
I think we can move on, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So just real quick, I got to say it again. Kings lose. Another awesome loss.
Thanks, Phoenix.
For the Sacramento Kings.
Appreciate that, man.
We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to dive deeper into your Sacramento Kings with Around the Crown. Welcome back. This is Around the Crown. We're talking all things Sacramento Kings and beyond. Join the Royal family by hitting that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, you might as well smash up that like button. Calvin and I put out fresh Kings content almost every day, and we go live after every Kings game. If you'd like to be notified when Calvin and I go live, make sure you hit that notification cowbell down below. All right, Cal. So I'll let you take on the first thing. You know what we're going to mention here.
Trades?
All-Star voting.
Oh, All-Star voting. That's right. How could I forget? Oh, you're passing it to me. I'm sorry. Yeah, so All-Star voting is going on until January 22nd, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Sorry, Barry's the host. I'm just I don't know what I am, I guess, but I'm just here for the ride. All-Star voting happening until January 22nd.
Yeah.
January 2022, 22nd of 2022. Oh, man. If there's a Kings player you'd like to see in the game, you should vote for him. Or if there's another player you'd like to see in the game, you should vote for them.
Or you can vote for Calvin and I, and we'll be happy to represent the Sacramento Kings.
I would love to do that.
In the All-Star game. And, if they have another COVID outbreak, Calvin will be ready to jump in there with his Klay Thompson jersey on.
Yeah. I'll play in the celebrity game for sure. I think I could put up like 40 in that game.
Yeah. How do we get in that game?
It's a good question. I guess we got to get this channel to be bigger so we're an actual celebrity.
Yeah, I'm not a celebrity yet. However, I don't know if you guys know this, but I was in a movie last year. filming. It hasn't come out yet, but it's called Paradise City. It's got Travolta and it's got Bruce Willis. I'm in a party scene. So hopefully that comes out, in the next 6 months or so. And make sure you guys check it out. You will see me in the movie.
What's your character? Does your character have a name?
I don't have a name. I'm just party guest.
Party guest. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep your eye out for party guest over here.
Party guest. I got a couple scenes. I'm oogling some girls that are there, and I'm in the background drinking champagne and having a good time while they're fighting and partying and all that good stuff. But yeah, it should be a good movie. Who knows? Who knows when it'll come out? But maybe I'll be a celebrity so I can make it in the All-Star game.
There you go.
I don't know. That's my goal now. That's my new goal. All right, Cal. So I want to talk a little bit about Kevin Love here. Another good game for Kevin Love. I know he's getting old. He's making a ton of money. I'm so surprised he's still on this Cavs team.
Right.
And, you look at how awesome he played in the Timberwolves. I think he's got the record for 53 double-doubles straight.
Yeah, the guy was an absolute monster.
He's great at rebounding. He's great at shooting the three. Sacramento Kings need a power forward. We've talked about this guy over and over and over again. What would you be willing to trade for a guy like Kevin Love? And do you think he'd fit in on this Sacramento team?
Unfortunately, you're going to have to trade a lot because his price tag is very high. I like Kevin Love. I would rather them find another option first than Kevin Love. I think Skip, actually, the last time he was on the show, we were talking about this, and he said you could do a lot worse than Kevin Love, and I agree with that. But Kevin Love's not anywhere near the rebounder that he used to be. I agree here with this most recent comment, not a defensive player whatsoever. So he would add some shooting, some outside shooting.
Yeah.
That's what he would add to this team.
Yeah. All right. I think we are ready to welcome Skip into the show here. Skip does a Sacramento Kings channel as well called Sacktown Breakdown, so make sure you guys check him out. What's up, Skip?
Hey, y'all. How's it going?
It's going good, man. Another Sacramento Kings loss, but hey, we're here. We're drinking beers. We're having fun. We're talking about the Kings, and we are hoping they can fix some of these issues.
Yeah, we're I think less of us are hopeful than before, but I think ultimately, like y'all said, if whoever's here are real Kings fans, and if you're still a real Kings fan, then that means that you still got hope left. So, we'll see. And I want to apologize now. I'm getting over the plague that's sweeping through everyone, so my wind and my voice may sound a little different, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to talk to my island guys, so I had to come on.
Yeah, dude, it's gone through this household as well. So, I know how you're feeling.
I appreciate you.
All right. So, one thing I texted Calvin last night about this trade that I've been thinking about. It's been on my mind here. And I actually want to show it here on the screen. Vinny, can you show my screen here? Skip, I want to hear your thoughts on this trade here. So, it's a 3-team deal. Kings, Spurs, Pacers. Kings receive Miles Turner, Zach Collins. Spurs receive De'Aaron Fox. Pacers receive DeJounte Murray. I think you could probably include maybe a draft pick or two from the Kings to the Spurs to make this deal work out. How do you feel about this deal?
I've seen more deals that I didn't agree with than this one. I am one of those people that I am not team trade De'Aaron Fox, but that deal that you just posted seems to work out for every team in some way. And that's the sign of like a realistic trade. Either every team needs to lose or every team needs to win. So that one looked like every team would benefit in some way for that. One of the last few times I came on here, I said that I'm a fan of getting Miles Turner on this team, especially for rim protection, floor spacing, primarily just to, elevate the foundation of, I was going to say of what our offense is, but what our offense isn't. So I'm interested in that one. It'd be cool to see DeJounte Murray get a change of scenery as well.
Yeah, I think the trade I sent Calvin last night had Lonnie Walker also sent to Sacramento in this deal, and I don't know if they can make that as well, but I'm trying to fill as many positions of need as I can for the Sacramento Kings. Obviously, if you're giving up De'Aaron Fox, that means Tyrese is moving to the point guard. You need a starting level shooting guard. You need to fill that 4 position. Maybe it's Miles Turner, maybe it's Zach Collins. Figure out what's going on with Rashawn Holmes. But yeah, when I looked at this deal, I'm like, what kind of deal can I make that makes sense for all these teams? And I think this deal makes sense for all of teams. I think that if De'Aaron Fox is going to continue his career in the NBA outside of Sacramento, the Spurs are one of the best teams that he could go to. And the Pacers are looking for a point guard. They're looking to move on from Miles Turner as well. So I like this deal a lot. Calvin, what are your thoughts?
I like this deal, but I'm with everybody in the chat here. I just don't know what San Antonio's motivation to do this deal is. I think if you polled a lot of people, they would be pretty split on who is a better player overall, DeJounte Murray or De'Aaron Fox. And part of that is because their games are very similar. Yeah. DeJounte Murray's having a really good season so far this year. I just question whether or not I just have a feeling that they would be the hang up in this deal getting done. Maybe it's because they don't think they're getting enough in return, or they see it as no reason to do this trade because they already have De'Aaron Fox. They have DeJounte Murray. I don't know, but San Antonio is just a hard team to read in general, I think.
I mean, if you're getting a top pick from Sacramento, that helps too, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure it sweetens the pot. Go ahead, Skip.
That's all I was going to say. Exactly what Barry just said. The picks would be the thing that they'd have to be saying no to, because they wouldn't be losing anything in it by trading Fox in a sense. But they would have to say, okay, we want to not get worse, but we also want to have assets to, look forward to the future. So that's what they would have to be saying no to. They'd have to be saying no to staying the same and, opportunities to improve the team, in the future, or packaging those and trading them, to put someone else next to De'Aaron Fox. So I think the picks, if there's no picks, then same thing. I think, San Antonio was like, we don't even, why even do the paperwork? Yeah. Why even get out of bed for the paperwork? If the picks are there, then it's like, all right, RC, get out of bed. Come on. Clock in.
No, I think what you said there was a really important thing, in that you mentioned trying to pair somebody with De'Aaron Fox. I think San Antonio's in that same boat. They're trying to pair somebody with DeJounte Murray. I mean, who does he have right now?
Yeah.
Derek White's a decent player, but their front court has nothing. So, and Sacramento is the same way. If you're going to choose De'Aaron Fox to be the guy going forward, you need to pair him with somebody else. So I'm not sure that this deal helps the Kings because they get a bunch of guys to pair with Tyrese Haliburton in return. But San Antonio and Indiana, or vice versa, they're not improving. They're just, I think somebody in the chat said it's a lateral move. It's not really much of there's not enough incentive here for this deal to be done.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you gotta throw quite a few picks in there to convince San Antonio to make this deal. Skip, we haven't talked to you in a couple weeks, so I just kind of want to touch on what your pulse is on the team currently, how you're feeling about coaching staff, about player personnel, where to go from here. The trade deadline's coming up in about a month from now. So I just kind of want to hear from you. What are your overall thoughts on this Kings team?
I had made a post on Twitter. The Sacktown Breakdown has broken down. We got the under construction sign up right now. I haven't done a video. I think this would be 3 weeks, almost 3.5 weeks, where I haven't done a recap. I've only been on Twitter. I've only been in here supporting you guys in the chat, talking to the community. It's very difficult, I feel like, at this point, to give this team personally more of my time than I already give them, just like enjoying the community and then watching the games. I appreciate and I respect what y'all do because you kind of keep the community, together. So like every time y'all come on, I'm like, all right, they're still going. For me, it's very, very difficult. And I've had to kind of revert to shifting what kind of entertainment it is, because like as a basketball fan first at the core, it's just so difficult to watch so much bad basketball and still be able to enjoy it. And then like when it's your team that's playing the bad basketball and you just watch every other team play better basketball than your team, even when the other team's playing bad basketball, like the Trailblazers, it's so difficult. So I had to switch it. In a way, I kind of look at the Kings comically now. They're more like court jesters than they are Kings. So for us, it's just like, how consistently is this team just going to make the same mistakes, go to the same press conferences, hear the same questions, give the same answers, and be honest about it too. How many trades, like that's the other thing, even that trade, I was like, oh, it's refreshing, a trade I haven't seen yet, because it almost feels like we feel the inaction and it feels like we're trying to improve the team better than Monty is, which isn't a reality because we just literally can't do that. Not like we have influence, but we have no control. But isn't it just interesting now how it feels like we're the ones trying to put our hands on the levers and make something happen with this team, because it doesn't feel like anything's happening except for mediocrity.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you there. And, one thing that you said, which I think Calvin agrees with me, is it's continually gets harder and harder to be up here talking about this team when they lose over and over and over again. But, Calvin and I love the Kings. We love basketball. So that's what gives us the motivation. Seeing all you guys in the chat gives us motivation to be here. But, yeah, it gets tougher and tougher to talk about this team. And, I've seen Calvin get frustrated talking about trades over and over and over again, because it seems like we talk about that a lot, and we do. But, it's a double-edged sword being a Kings fan, because you love the team, but you hate what's happening. And you see all these teams around you that are bad teams. I talked about it a few weeks ago. I had a bet with two friends just a couple years ago. One of them was a Sixers fan. One was a Suns fan. We had bets on who was going to have the better season. I end up winning the bet. But fast forward 5 years, the Sixers are in the playoffs. The Suns just went to the finals. Sacramento is still in the same exact spot. And, we talked about rebuilds and choosing a lane, right? Like where you're going to go with a direction on this team. And I don't think we've seen a full rebuild for this Kings team. It's kind of been a half-ass, let's add some guys at the deadline, fringe players, and see, because we're excited about this young core, stuff like that. But maybe we've finally reached the point where it is time to just blow it up. Maybe we choose 1, 2, 3 guys, trade everybody else. We pick a system, we hire a new coach, and we bring in guys that fit that system. I don't know if it's exactly time for that, but, I'm definitely feeling like it's getting closer and closer. How about you, Cal?
Oh, it certainly feels like it's getting closer and closer, but it also feels like we're just slowly sinking into a black hole. It's been 15 years, and it's just the same thing every single time. So I don't know whether, like, we agree as a fan base that it feels like it's getting closer to blowing it up. But is that really going to happen? I don't know. It's so hard to tell. Yeah. Everything that I hear out of Monty McNair's mouth is so committed to, we have this good core group of players, and maybe they'll click and discover the spark that we found earlier this season. I think he's really worried about, everybody was so high on his picks. and I'm sure he believed in them more than anybody else, so he doesn't want to see this fail necessarily. But you're right. All of us are right. At some point, enough is enough, and whether a rebuild might be the most realistic option, because while Ben Simmons is out there available and Miles Turner is out there available, the question is, can the Kings really pull off a deal for any of those guys that would be effective, immediate help right away?
Yeah.
So in that regard, a rebuild makes maybe a little bit more sense, because even though it might take longer for you to get back to being competitive, it's the more logical or more accessible route right now.
Can I add something to the rebuild thing? Because that's something that I have not talked a lot about. I've kind of responded to people. I haven't talked a lot about it. The interesting thing about the rebuild is, if you think about it, so the longest tenured King right now is De'Aaron Fox, and he's been here 5 seasons, right? Who's the next player that's been here the longest besides Fox?
That's a good question.
Buddy.
But Fox and Buddy. And then behind that, it's what, Holmes?
Maybe Harrison Barnes.
Probably one of the two.
Oh yeah, I mean maybe HB. So like if we were gonna rebuild, it's literally just getting rid of 3 people, because everybody else is fairly new. And I'm not, and when I don't mean to, when I say that, it's just more of a realization that it's funny because we don't consider those people part of the core, but they are the longest tenured players here. And then, so we wipe the slate clean with those guys, and I mean, even get Fox out of here, all of that. But the other part that makes I'm talking about rebuild timing. Like a GM in his second, going into his third year, who is a first-time GM and is trying to prove that he can lead a team. Is that the move that he makes? Because how long does it take the rebuild to even look successful, and how long of a leash does he have to prove that he made the right choice in rebuilding, to even have it be something that he wants to do if he really has full autonomy? That's like the most difficult thing for me. I'm not even against a rebuild at this point. I was for a minute, and I still would rather keep Fox and Tyrese and be like, can we give them more than a year starting? But just like, okay, let's say we rebuild. Let's say we should. When does it actually start? And do you think Monty is going to be like, yeah, it's the second year, I'm going to go ahead and blow it up. They're probably only going to give me another year or 2, but I can turn around the team and get us back in the playoffs, or at least have us looking good by then. What's your guys' take on that?
I mean, my question for you, Skip, is, so, I think that I've praised Monty over the fact that he hasn't made many bad moves. We've looked at these past GMs, and they've handicapped the Kings for the future by trading away picks, by, giving big contracts to guys. I don't feel like a lot of these guys on the Kings have a bad contract, have, something that's untradeable. We don't have any of those guys. But, we all talk about how Monty's been drafting great. He's hit on the last 2 draft picks. I think it's still a little early to say that we hit on Davion Mitchell, but Tyrese Haliburton, in my opinion, is a stud, and I think he's definitely a hit. But if you're drafting well, but your last 2 draft picks play the same position as your best player, like, where does that really put you? Was a rebuild the idea from the beginning? Was he just drafting best available because we missed out on Luka Doncic by not drafting best available? So I just want to hear your opinion on how that works out. You're drafting 2 guys that play the same position as your best player, and you're expecting this team to get better.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you there. And even because I was of the mind set 2 at that point, draft best player available. I still have a really tough time giving Monty McNair so much credit for Tyrese Haliburton, just because so many people had him projected higher, and so many people he kind of fell to us. But if his name is on the name tag when we take the guy, then I have to give him some substantial credit. So let's say I credit him for that. I'm still out on Davion Mitchell. I like Davion Mitchell personally, but as these last few games have continued to pile on, I don't really feel like I haven't really felt his impact on the game very much here and there. First year player. Okay, that's fine. Monty McNair, when he came in, we were high on De'Aaron Fox. And I think with the start of this season and then him being out the last 2 weeks has really taken some of the wind out of the sails on our memory. We forget how high the fan base was on De'Aaron Fox. Like towards the end, all of us were talking about he should be all-star level next year and all this stuff. This rough start has really hit Kings players hard. And it wasn't just Fox. It was us as a whole and Luke Walton that really took the wind out of the sails. And now most of us are like kind of a little indifferent, towards him. So I think we forget that we were down with a plan of get Fox help because he was showing that he could be something very special. And we thought all-star potential. And now so many of us just aren't feeling that way anymore. So I think Monty, when he came into it, I think it was let's get Fox some help. Let's draft best player available. And I'll be honest with you, did any of us really feel like Monty McNair was coming in and really was going to had the reins to do exactly what he wanted? All of us questioned if Vivek was still meddling. Now that you bring it up to me, Barry, I don't think he had a clear idea. I think Monty McNair's idea was, let me get this job so I can just get a GM title, like a head GM first of all, and then after that, let me do the obvious stuff like get gritty players that will play better defense than the guys that I got now. That's all I think he had to start with. And now I think he's out of his depth, to be honest with you. He kept Luke Walton, which was just a terrible idea. And then ever since then, he's kind of just been treading water.
I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, I also feel like, if you're Monty, you had the pulse of Houston and your GM left. He was the next in line. So why would he leave Houston to come to Sacramento unless he thought that he could do something in Sacramento, right? Like, Monty McNair was second in line and Daryl Morey left like maybe a month after Monty accepts a job in Sacramento, but those guys were tight. They worked together for like 13 years. You have to think that, if I'm in Daryl Morey's position and I'm training a guy to be just me, I'm going to be like, hey, man, just so you know, I could potentially be on my way out, hang around for a little bit longer, and you could take over for me. I don't know if that's what happened, but it seems to me that Monty chose Sacramento over Houston.
Yeah, I think he did. I mean, there's probably
Definitely
a lot to be said about, even if he had stayed in Houston, he would have always had the stigma of it was him and Daryl Morey working together. Guys want anybody who's a professional or, is in these like high stress environment jobs. They want all the credit. They want to show that it's my time. I'm ready to do it myself, And if I could backtrack just a little bit on what we were talking about a moment ago about the rebuild process and all that stuff, I think Skip made a really good point about if you're the GM in that position, especially if it's only your second going into your third year, it's got to be really difficult to make that move and blow it up. And I saw a comment in here, I think it's Phoenix, said Sam Hinkie came in for Philly and he did the same thing and it paid off. And while that's 100% correct, he wasn't there to see it paid off. See it pay off.
Yeah.
So when you're the guy,
they installed Colangelo.
Exactly.
They literally got him out, and the NBA had to put Brian Colangelo in Philly because they like it was messing things up.
And it's a very different thing in Philadelphia for a team that has had, even though not tremendous success, but a little bit of success for some period of time before they were really, really, really bad, compared to a Kings team that has been awful for a long time, longest playoff drought in NBA history. That to be the guy that says, all right, I'm going to pull the plug and we're going to start all over again. It's been 15 years. It might take us another 6 or 7, but hey, follow me. I'm the guy to lead us back to the promised land. That's tough. That's a really difficult position to be in.
Yeah. Shout out Gothan. Thanks, buddy, for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. I see Phoenix here in the chat saying all these picks or selections were done by Hinkie. His philosophy was correct. He was wrongfully fired. I'm very critical of the process that happened in Philadelphia because I feel like they made a ton of bad picks too. You know, they drafted Michael Carter Williams. I was a big fan of him. He won Rookie of the Year. They end up trading him. They traded like 2 first-round picks to move up to number 1 in the draft, and they end up trading Fultz to Orlando for like a late second-round pick. You know, they made a lot of mistakes. They basically came out of this deal with Embiid and Simmons, and, you know, they were able to trade for some guys like Tobias Harris and Jimmy Butler, and they were able to build, you know, they're a bigger market franchise. They are able to sign guys in free agency if they need to, and that's something that the Sacramento Kings cannot do. But, you know, they got lucky. They got a couple good picks. They got a first-round pick. They won the lottery. The Kings haven't won the lottery in like 20-something years. So even if the Kings are, you know, in that top position, who knows if we're going to get ousted again and not get our guy like Patrick Ewing like we should have had.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's what it always comes down to in the draft is luck. And you're right. They made some questionable picks or some picks that didn't work out for them in the long term. But on the other side of that coin, if Joel Embiid is healthy right away coming into the league, the process gets sped up a lot faster.
Yeah.
So, and then we're sitting here saying, oh man, he did an incredible job. The process worked, you know, to perfection basically.
Even Ben Simmons too, because remember both of them had like those weird
Simmons
foot issues. When they came in, like, and everybody was like, "What's going on with Philly's medical staff?" That was like a whole weird thing.
Exactly. RP's got a good point here. Happened with Cousins as well. You know, you keep drafting bigs, and just now, you know, they got a good point guard. They keep drafting point guards. That's something that Philadelphia did not do. They didn't keep drafting centers after they had Embiid. And
they just sign them in the offseason.
Yeah. But you brought up a good point here, Skip. You know, I had talked about kind of, you know, being a first overall pick is a blessing and a curse, especially if you're able to contribute right away in the wins column, because then your team doesn't have a chance. You know, I talked about LeBron when he was in Cleveland, was he elevated that team so much that they didn't have a chance to bring in other guys via draft picks to help improve that franchise. You look at teams like the Spurs. They got really lucky. David Robinson was an incredible guy, was out the whole season. They were able to draft Tim Duncan. Yeah. You look at some of these other teams like, you know, I know Darko didn't really help the Pistons, but they had a horrible season, were able to end up really high in the draft and then make the finals. So that's something that hasn't happened in Sacramento. You can say that about
all picks, you know, for all time. Like the Portland Trailblazers decided to take Sam Bowie, so Michael Jordan fell to the Bulls at 3. Like it just goes on and on and on. That's what the draft is. You get lucky sometimes and you get unlucky more times.
But you get a player like Fox, he elevates your team to like almost there. So then you aren't able to surround him with other high draft picks because you're in that 7 to 10 to 12 range. And not saying that you can't get good draft picks at that range, because there's been a lot of good players drafted in that range there, but it significantly decreases as far as like all-star potential and stuff like that. De'Aaron Fox has been a wonderful player for Sacramento, but he brought them kind of into that no man's land where they aren't able, he's good to where they're fighting for a position, but they don't have the draft pick to bring in more help for him.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
It's a tough spot. I thought I had more answers and more things that I wanted to do earlier on, but as this team continues to play, and then I look at the times table, and like I said, that Monty McNair thing, like if he did that as soon as he came in, then he gives himself time to prove that he made the right decision. But 2 years in, at the start of the third year, for him to blow it up, he's basically punting you know, his opportunity. And you know what, and down in Houston, they might have done him a solid and said, hey, yeah, like Daryl's gone, you know, but we're not going to give you the spot, but we won't say that. So if you want to go take a look around and see if you want to be a GM somewhere else, like you absolutely can. And maybe he built the team, and maybe he was like, if I'm going to do a rebuild, I might as well, you know, like do it somewhere else and really elevate my name by going, because anybody who comes here, you know, thinks that they can turn the Sacramento Kings around. But don't discount this as well, though, guys. Remember this, like, we love the basketball and we know a little bit about the business, but this is a business. For some people, it really is just a promotional move. Some people do stuff like this and then get out of this business and go and, take their credentials elsewhere. So for Monty McNair, it literally could have, I don't want to say that he just was like, let me get the GM tag and then I don't really care. I think he does care. I think he is trying, but I don't think he realized how difficult it is to get on the phone and have people respect that symbol, that pops up, when they see you in the voice chat, that Kings, because nobody respects this. We love this, but nobody in the NBA respects this.
Yep. I 100% agree. And we got to make them respect it. We got to make them respect it.
That's right.
All right, Skip, we're going to let you go here. Anything else you want to say to the Kings fans? You want to, promote your channel a little bit here, let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me at home because the Sacktown breakdown is broken down. But if you want to go and if you want to go check out some of the old videos and recaps, especially I would say the last 7 ones that I did were really funny. I do this thing called Purple Mic Time where I take out my little, I got a green screen mic, but it looks purple here. And so I won't use my normal mic. I'm just talking to y'all like friends, what's going on here. But you can go and you can check some of those out. You can follow me on Twitter. But above all, I want to say this. We're most of us aren't happy right now. We're trying to come up with ways to fix the team. Just remember to try to, it's not fun right now and we're not being happy, but try to have fun and try to remember, we're all Kings fans. We're all in this together. And if you see someone being a little cheeky, try not to take it personal, because we don't, most of us don't really know each other and we're not really attacking each other. We're just attacking the fact that the Sacramento Kings have been bad, unlucky for more than 15 years, pretty much only 6 years since they haven't been in Sacramento have we been good. So just try to stay together as much as possible and do your best to keep it lighthearted, everybody. But other than that, I appreciate Barry. I appreciate Cal. Always a pleasure. And go Kings.
Go Kings, man. Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. Make sure you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again soon.
See y'all soon.
Yeah, I mean, Cal, I definitely agree with him. I think he's got some great points there. I want to give a shout out to Michelle here in the chat. Michelle says, McNair clearly wanted Tyrese. You don't not draft him because you have Fox. It's just a shitty situation all around. And I definitely agree with that. It's a very, very tough situation being the GM of the Sacramento Kings. And when you're calling people, getting them to respect you and think that you're for real, thinking that your players are legit, it's been so long where everyone's felt like they can just run over the Sacramento Kings. And so McNair's trying his best to get them back on the map. And, all of us are yelling that he needs to make a trade. We don't know what the trade offers are. Everyone could be offering him, crap for all the players. And maybe he's like, nope, I'm not making a deal unless it improves his team. I'm not making a deal unless it makes sense for me. And maybe none of the deals do make sense. And us fans are putting pressure on him saying, make a deal. We hate you. Make a deal. You got to make a deal. I don't want to make a deal just to make a deal. I only want to make a deal if it improves his team. And, I still have confidence in him. So, I want to sit back. I want him to make a move, but I don't want him to just make a move to make a move.
Yeah, I think all of us are in that boat for sure. But at the same time, we're talking about doing a rebuild here. That would be making a deal that doesn't improve the team in the immediate future.
Yeah.
It would be stocking draft capital, all sorts of stuff like that for future improvements.
Yeah.
But you'd be okay with that deal.
I mean, anything that improves this team, they need to choose a direction. This is what we decided on, right? They need to not do what they've been doing over and over again. So anything that, if they can decide on a direction of where they want this team to go and go with that, I'll be happy. Even if it's trading a bunch of these guys. They come up with a plan, they're clear with it, and they stick to it. And that's what needs to happen. And, you look at a lot of these other teams that did that, They did it really, really quick. Really quick.
Some teams do it faster than others.
You look at what happened with the Thunder. They had Russell Westbrook. You know, they lost. Well, they gave up James Harden for, I would say, less than he's worth. They give up Ibaka.
Yeah.
They lose, you know, or they trade Russell Westbrook, and then all of a sudden it's like we are completely rebuilding. And they did it really fast.
Why can you do it so fast? Because you drafted Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden.
Yeah.
The Kings don't have any of those guys.
But what did they get for Durant? What did they get for Harden? They didn't get much for those
Durant
guys.
walked.
Yeah.
He signed as a free agent.
Yeah. They didn't get much for those guys. They were able to trade for Paul George, which I thought was an awesome deal, and they were able to flip that guy for like 7 picks or something.
Right. But my point is that they had a much better starting position than the Kings do. The Kings don't have any of those guys to trade for 6 draft picks, you know? So it's not going to be that easy for them.
Steven says, I'm going to snitch on all the Deuce and Mo detectors in here. Hey, we love Deuce and Mo. You know, we don't have any problem with Deuce and Mo. We think Deuce and Mo are great. We encourage you to watch their content. We want you to watch our content. We want anybody that's a Kings fan to watch our show, to watch their show. We're all Kings fans. We all need to rise up together. Vinny, are we ready for Alex?
I don't see his image here.
Let me message him real quick.
His camera's off. I just texted him.
All right. Is it the same information for him? All right. We're going to have him join here in a second and get his opinions.
Oh, yeah, good. Thanks for bringing that up again. You want to elaborate?
I'll let you take it.
Well, I forgot who even said that in the comments. I don't know if they're still watching or not, but we wanted to know where you came up with the Horseman nickname for Buddy Hield, because Barry and I have a friend whose nickname for Buddy Hield is Horsemouth Hero. Because when he I almost can't even say it. When he runs, his mouth is like flapping in the wind, and you see his teeth, and he's got a big mouth, man, like a horse.
I think it was when he had the mohawk, and it looked kind of like a mane for him. But yeah, his teeth are so big they barely fit in his mouth, which is wild. But yeah, I think it was after he made that game winner against, what was that, Detroit a couple years ago. He started calling him Horsemouth Hero. I thought that was hilarious.
Run, Buddy, run.
I like Buddy. I like Buddy a lot. I just don't like the stupid mistakes that he makes. I really don't like it. They piss me off. So, Cal, you know, I want to talk a little bit more about this San Antonio deal. Vinny, can you show my screen here? You know, I forgot to add Lonnie Walker in here. This is the deal that I sent you last night. I really like this deal a lot. But, you know, as he mentioned, I don't know if the Spurs are willing to make this deal. The Kings are going to have to throw some draft picks in there. But, hey, you know, if you're San Antonio and you're like, well, we have De'Aaron Fox now and 2 first-round picks in this draft, 2 maybe top 10 picks in this draft, this is a way to rebuild our franchise. I think that's more valuable than DeJounte Murray, Lonnie Walker, and Zach Collins.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And if I'm the Pacers, you know, Malcolm Brogdon's been a great player, but he's been out a lot.
Yeah.
And I think DeJounte Murray could potentially fit next to him. And you're already talking about moving on from Miles Turner. You have Karis LeVert. You have Sabonis. I think this deal would work out for the Pacers as well. And I really, really love this deal for the Sacramento Kings. You know, we talked about Miles Turner.
I mean, I think it's a clear-cut decision as to who wins this trade.
Yeah.
Out of all 3 teams.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're the Kings, even if you're giving up this first round draft pick this year, you're not going to get a player better than Miles Turner or Lonnie Walker or a guy that's more ready to compete right now.
Yeah.
You know, for me, you look at this deal and I'm like, okay, well, what does this mean for Richaun Holmes? Does that mean he's on the move now? Maybe we trade him for another piece, maybe a small forward, something like that. But this move right here shows me a clear direction. It says, okay, Tyrese is our guy. He's going to play the point guard. I really like Lonnie Walker a lot. I think he's very, very capable to play the shooting guard. And then, you know, Miles Turner, either he's going to be power forward or center, depending on what happens with Richaun Holmes. And Zach Collins needs to stay healthy, but he's locked up for 3 more years on a great deal, and he's got a lot of potential.
He does. We haven't seen him play in an awfully long time, so I would like to see him step on the court first before, you know, I'm thinking about him for a long-term pillar of a franchise. But no, I think that you make a lot of good points. I just keep coming back to every time I look at these trades, I tried to view it from the other teams, the other GM's perspective, not Sacramento's. You know, what am I gaining out of this deal? What is this worthwhile? Where is this team trying to go in the future? What are they looking to build off of? And you're right. You know, De'Aaron Fox plus a couple of first-round picks might accelerate a San Antonio Spurs rebuild. But I just question what they really think of DeJounte Murray. You know, I think they really are very, very high on him, as a lot of people in the league are. So that's my only, you know, question mark about this deal, because obviously you need all 3 teams to make it work.
Dennis said he was at the game tonight. He said Buddy was hot. Fox with the last shot was heartbreaking. Dennis, you know, do you think Fox taking the last shot was the right move? I mean, obviously he's the best player on the Sacramento Kings team, but you say Buddy was hot. Should Buddy have taken that shot? I don't know. How do you feel? Michelle says, got to establish a culture and identity, 100%.
Without a doubt. That is as true a statement as we could make on this show, for sure.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not as easy as you know, just saying, got to establish a culture and identity.
No, it's definitely not.
I wish it was
that easy, but we're talking about teams like San Antonio and even Indiana. I mean, the Pacers have missed the playoffs 8 times in the last 30 years. That's incredible success for a team like San Antonio that we think of like the New England Patriots that just continue their success all the time. Those organizations, they have culture, they have an identity, and it took them years upon years to establish. It is not an easy thing.
Yeah, Vinny, I sent Alex that info again, so he should be joining in soon, and we'll be able to bring him on here. Michelle says, OKC is a once-in-a-lifetime type of situation. You don't draft 3 straight generational talents in back-to-back-to-back drafts. Most are fortunate to get contributors.
Agreed. Preach.
And they still didn't win a title.
They didn't, but they made the finals, man. I mean, that's
they did,
whether you ultimately win or not. And most people believe that if they had kept that core together, they would have won a finals, maybe multiple.
Yeah. What's up, Bryce? Happy to have you here. So Dennis says Buddy should have taken the last shot. He was hitting threes. He said all we needed was a 2, but he thinks that Buddy should have taken the last shot.
I think Tyrese should have taken it, personally.
Yeah. I agree with you. You know, especially after I saw that graphic saying that he's had the best shooting or 3-point shooting percentage for the last 2 months. So, yeah, I agree. All right, guys, we're going to welcome our second guest of the night here, Alex from the Hair and Beard Podcast, a.k.a. The Hair. What's up, Alex?
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, man. I'm glad to be here on the show. I'm glad to see fellow Kings fans. I'm very proud of you guys for making this Kings channel as successful as it is. Been a Kings fan my whole life, so it's just great to see other Kings fans with that Kings passion. No Lakers, no Warriors, all that stuff that all you guys, I'm sure, have seen since being Kings fans.
Oh, yeah. You want to plug your channel real quick for everybody in the audience?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's official Hair and the Beard Pod on Instagram. We've been deleted 4 times, and we're back on the grind again. So Keep in mind, right now it's official Hair and the Beard Pod on Instagram. On YouTube, it's the Hair and the Beard Podcast. Just type that in, and you'll see everything we do, from Pokemon to WWE to Kings, of course, to the NFL. MMA, we're huge on. Me and my buddy that has a betting page, we do MMA previews every week. When there is cards, there's a card this week, so check that out too. And yeah, man, check it out. We have fun over here. Oh yeah, movie previews too and reviews.
Awesome.
Wow, you guys are multi-talented, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. What were your thoughts on the game tonight?
Gosh, man. Well, here's the thing. I've reached my breaking point. I want to say maybe a few weeks ago already. I still watch the games. I still have fun with it. I still do the reviews. I do reviews. I do about a 5-minute recap after the game, kind of get my frustration out. Usually we're losing, and then I watch your guys' stuff usually right after, just because I want to keep the flow going, then go to bed, go to work, do all that good stuff. But as far as today's game, man, I did not expect to win. I'll be real honest. I didn't expect to win, regardless of people have their best players.
You're not alone in that one.
Yeah. But as far as my thoughts, I mean, of course, Fox is struggling a little bit right now. And before I get into it, I don't want to segue too much. I have so much I've been wanting to tell you guys, but I'm definitely not on the trade Fox wagon. I'm not. I agree with your previous guest. But, and I'll say but, for the right deal, I'm down. Just because, we've sucked for so many years, just like my Raiders. I told you guys in the comments earlier, I've been so happy just because my Raiders finally make the playoffs. Imagine being a Raiders fan and a Kings fan. That's just insane. That's just insane. But nonetheless, today's game, it's kind of went how I expected it to. We were losing by double digits. Then Buddy makes a few shots. We grind till the very end. We get everybody's hopes up, and then we lose a heartbreaker at the end. So it's just in the life of a Kings fan, man. I mean, I'm glad every time we get like this, I start thinking, at least we have a team in Sacramento, because we used to remember, if you guys remember that time, I mean, man, I was crying. I was a little kid when that happened. I was just like, oh, I'm losing my team, my jerseys. I was just depressed. And then you had, I forget the GM at the time, or the main guy at the time, but he made that mafia move and just stopped that sale from happening. Now we have our team that we can bitch about for year in and year out, but it's one of those things, man. I mean, I hope for the best for the future, because again, my Raiders have sucked for so long, and I know our Kings will finally make it eventually. I hope, knock on wood. But man, it doesn't look like it's close. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It looks like we're very far right now.
Yeah, I agree. It does seem like they're farther away than they've ever been, if you can even believe that statement after all the years of losing and stuff like that. Alex, I want to ask you real quick, side note here, who is the Beard and where is this person? Because I've watched a lot of your videos and I've never seen a beard in them.
Funny story. So when I originally thought of this podcast, I created the Hair and the Beard. I liked just the way it flew, the Hair and the Beard. In the first place, I wanted to be like a Mexican Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? But then, so we did it. But what he wanted to do, he said, hey, let's quit our jobs and do this full time. And I was graduating college at the time. I'm like, bro, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So we had a little parting, and then there was a new beard, because I wanted to keep the Hair and the Beard name. And he does join us from time to time, but usually for Pokemon openings. When we open new Pokemon sets or Yu-Gi-Oh sets, we'll do that. But more often than not, I do it, in a room. So it's hard for us to get together and do it. He works graveyards. I'm a white collar worker in the day. So we have very opposite schedules. So a lot of times my nights are free, and that's when I do my recaps.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Barry and I are very fortunate. We've lived in the same either house or area for a long time, so we're able to get together and do this kind of at the drop of a hat, which is great,
I got the hair. Where's your beard?
Man, I can't. This is about the best beard I can grow right here. It's not going to come in much fuller than this. So, but I do want to ask you, Alex, first of all, give me your first impressions of Neemias Queta tonight, because this is really the best look that we got to see from him, first and foremost. And then also, I just want to continue, since we've been building on this trade conversation. You said you're not a trade Fox bandwagon type person. is there one of these deals that we've talked about that you think is your kind of like top move that you would make first, or a particular person that you would target?
Well, first about Quetas, I thought he did great. I think he did tremendous. Just because, and here's the thing too, though, to kind of counteract myself, he did do good, but is it because we have very bad bigs? You know what I mean? We're just used to so much bad big production. Maybe that's why we're thinking, oh, he killed it. Did he though? Is it just because we have horrible bigs? Is that what it is? I'm trying to stay positive, but I'm just very critical about this team because we've seen it. You know what I mean? We've seen it all. But compared to what we've seen lately, yeah, he did great. I think he did great. I'm a big fan. Seemed like he had energy. You know, of course, it's he's on the NBA spotlight right now. Of course, he's going to try to be the next, you know, big thing, I guess you can say. But man, dude, I want to ask you guys a question before I elaborate. What do you guys think about Richaun Holmes currently right now?
I think he's got to get on the court. Like
Yeah.
they just need him to play, man. You know, whether he's your long-term answer at center. Barry and I, we did an episode of the Royal Report recently where one of our cowbell questions was, is he a top 15 center in the league? And I think he is, but just barely on the fringe there. I mean, most teams would take a top 15 center even if they were on the end of that spectrum, though. That's saying you're about better than half the league at that position. So I think Richaun Holmes is a very fine player. He does a lot of things really, really well. He is undersized at his position. And to kind of go off of a quote I've already said, the Kings could do a lot worse than him. That being said, I wouldn't be, unwelcome to a deal that would bring in somebody who I felt like was an improvement at the position. For example, Miles Turner, who I'm a big fan of.
Huge fan of him too.
Yeah, and you know, I think those guys could potentially fit next to each other. I really like the Richaun Holmes I saw in the first quarter of the season. I think he's kind of been a different guy the last couple months. But, honestly, for me, the dude's got to stop getting poked in the eye.
100%.
Like
100%.
Reality here.
Well, he's going to wear the goggles now, so hopefully that doesn't happen anymore.
He keeps getting poked in the eye, and goggles Richaun Holmes is not the same as non-goggles Richaun Holmes.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, the guy did play with goggles at an earlier stage in his career, and I think he could get back to that point. And also, Tyrese Haliburton and him obviously have a really, really good connection. He plays much, much better, Richaun Holmes does, when Tyrese Haliburton has the ball and he's controlling the offense primarily. So
I want 2020 Richaun back. And I'm not saying the year. I'm saying 20 points and 20 rebounds, Richaun Holmes back. But, Alex, you mentioned that you're not on the Trade Fox bandwagon. So I want to hear your opinion on how Fox and Haliburton fit together. Are you trade Haliburton bandwagon, or are you let's keep them? And how do you plan on surrounding these guys with more talent if you're not trading one of these guys?
Man, I think, and as I'm sure you guys will agree, it's hard to get any kind of talent to come to Sacramento. If they're coming to California, they want to go to the Warriors or the Lakers, or I guess the Clippers too, kind of somewhat. For us, we only get talent if A, we draft good, which is something we hardly ever do, except recently, or B, we just trade and force somebody to come here. So the thing is yes, I understand what you guys are saying. You want to trade to bring talent over here, but it's just, it's tough to trade the little talent we have, and especially young talent we have, to bring in other talent that might not even want to come here, might not even try their best. It's just, for me, I think we need to keep what we have. In dream scenario, before I get ahead of myself, keep Fox and keep Haliburton. Everybody else, including Mitchell, I'm not hating on Mitchell, but I kind of agree with your previous guest where, I think he's a good asset right now. He's very young. You can sell that he plays good defense and all that. He's also very undersized, and he's been eating up a bunch already this year. I understand he's young and it's his first year, but I would trade everybody not named Haliburton and Fox, and I would try to build around those two, even though I know it's tough. Sometimes they don't play well together. They play like, I don't know, not peanut butter and jelly, I guess you could say, because they play so differently. And I've heard the thing about people wanting to make Fox a shooting guard, which is a silly idea to me because he can't even shoot that good. So I go back and forth with it. But in the perfect world, I'd love to keep them to trade everybody else. Fox is still young. You can blow it up, do an actual 3-year rebuild, because what's 3 more years? We've waited 15 plus already. You know what I mean? Let's do a real rebuild. Trade everybody, maybe trade picks away to get some other young guys to come and do a real rebuild. Let these guys develop with each other together, build some kind of something in Sacramento, like you guys said, identity. Because right now, what are we? I think De'Aaron Fox plays there. That's what the average NBA fan says. Oh yeah, I think they have Fox. Who knows what the Kings do? You know what I mean? Yep. So now I will say, for the right deal, I'll definitely do it. Like the Jaylen Brown thing, I'm all in for that. Balls deep for that move. Super down for Jaylen Brown. Now, are they going to make it? I don't think Fox is enough to get him. I'd like to get Ben Simmons here, of course, but without trading Fox and Haliburton. And another thing I want to ask you guys is shooting. I feel like, when we traded Bogey last year, him and Buddy were our best shooters for the most part. We traded Bogey away, and now Buddy is definitely our shooter. He's our shooter. If we trade Buddy away, where will we get shooting from? Unless, Haliburton, he'll get hot here and there. Fox occasionally will hit shots. Davis, for 3 games, he'll play great and then he'll disappear. I just don't know where our shooting will come from. I think Vivek loves the Warriors. That's why I drafted Buddy in the first place, to make his Curry, I guess you could say. If you want to be the Warriors, then I think fuck it, be the Warriors. Keep Fox, keep Haliburton, trade everybody away and surround them with shooters and maybe 1 or 2 solid bigs, and be the Warriors. Just shoot the lights out. Because right now, Buddy's our only quote unquote good shooter. And if he's not playing, who's going to make the threes? That's my issue with the team too. It's like a clusterfuck of misfits together right now. And I understand why they're losing. It's just crazy.
We tried to trade Bogey, but that deal fell apart. So we end up losing him for nothing. Which was horrible. As far as Buddy Hield goes, he's a great shooter. I don't agree with all the shots he takes. But I want to go back to the stat I said earlier. Tyrese Haliburton in December and January is leading the league in three-point percentage. So he is a great three-point shooter. We need to see more from him. I also want to give a shout-out to Tanvir because I see him here in the comments. Shout out Tanvir. But, Cal, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I agree that the Kings need more consistent shooting. But to say that 100%. Outside of Buddy Hield, they don't have any three-point shooters, I don't necessarily agree with. As you mentioned, Tyrese has been absolutely on fire for the most part all year. People forget Harrison Barnes is shooting 42% from 3 this season. Yeah. The thing with Harrison Barnes is that he'll have games where he attempts 1 or 2 threes, and then he'll have games where he attempts 6, 7, 8 threes. Mm-hmm. There's just no in-between. There's no middle ground for him, and I feel like he has been the most, unfit piece of this puzzle. I'm so unsure where he is in what Sacramento does. I feel like he needs to be more of an assertive scorer on this team. But when you have De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton that take up so much of the usage on the ball, sometimes he gets in there and he's open for 3 and sometimes he's not. It's just too inconsistent. So I would love to add more pieces, more consistent shooters. People like Seth Curry. I don't think Seth Curry is available, but guys like that are the people that I think the Kings need to add on this team to replace the people like Metu, who is not a good three-point shooter, like Terrence Davis.
I don't even want to get started with Metu.
Terrence Davis has been an incredibly streaky three-point shooter. They just need more consistency from the outside.
Yeah, and one guy that Calvin and I have been really adamant about is Miles Turner, and that's because he's good at shooting the 3, and he can protect the basket, which is one thing that we think the Sacramento Kings need. Alex, if there was one guy that you could bring into the Sacramento Kings team off of any team, you got anybody in mind?
Oh man, I'm a huge Michael Porter Jr. fan. Love the dude. I think he would fit great with the squad. Yep. No, exactly. I think we could find some way to get him. I feel like, because again with the Harrison Barnes thing, I feel like he's a good player, dude. He's probably our most complete-ish player. If he does try. it's just tough. It's because the thing is our team is lacking leadership. That's the main part. If somebody could say what you just said, hey, Haliburton, shoot more. Harrison Barnes, drive more. Fox, if someone could tell them, guys, you guys are good at this, but nobody's speaking up. They'll say stuff to the media and say, I think, was it Davis who said it? Oh, we don't have a leader on the squad. It's true, though. Nobody's grabbing the bull by the horns. No one's saying, like, dude, what the fuck? That's, we have some talent. We have guys that are good at certain things. Let's attack it. Let's not take no for an answer. We don't have that alpha, which I wish so much Fox was that guy, because I think he can be that guy. But for whatever reason, I don't know if he's used to losing after 5 years. It's just, it sucks, because we desperately need a leader on the squad. And maybe if it's a coach, if Doug Christie wants to be that guy, I'm not sure. I don't know that answer, but we really need a leader to get these guys in some kind of direction, because right now everybody's all over the place. Even when they play, nobody talks really when they set picks. Yeah. We always switch on pick and rolls, and we're always getting eaten alive in the paint from that. It's just crazy, man. I want someone to grab the huddle and just say, you do, I want someone to do that, man. Like, it's crazy that we don't have that guy. But as far as someone I wish we can have, I love Michael Porter Jr. I think Simmons would be good, but the thing is, who's to say he's going to not have the same attitude as a lot of these guys have? He's already doing that to the Sixers. He's a talent, that's for sure. No shooting though, but he's a big body that can defend.
I like Michael Porter Jr. a lot also. I've liked the guy since high school. I think he can do almost everything on the basketball court. He can shoot from all three levels. Everyone talks about the injury being a negative thing for him, but I look at it as a positive. If you trade for this guy, you're not going to win a lot of games through the rest of the season, so you're going to have a high draft pick, and you're going to be able to add on top of that. But, between the two guys that you mentioned, in Michael Porter Jr. and Ben Simmons, none of them solve that leadership thing that you've been talking about. So
they don't.
Is there another guy that you think that could jump in and be that voice or that leader?
Oh man, I think we would need to find, being that our core is very young, we'd need to find a capable coach for one. I think maybe you guys agree Gentry's not the guy, right?
I mean, he's the guy right now.
Yeah. I would agree. He's not the long-term guy.
Yeah.
He's the bridge guy.
No, 100%. I don't know who I'd bring in. It's just, it'd have to be a veteran, because these guys are so young and they're so used to playing like this and having their heads down and, having the post-game whatever. They just kind of say things and have their hands like this, and just, there's a very big losing culture in Sacramento right now. It would need to be a veteran, and it would need to be someone that's good, not afraid to get in their faces, cuss at them, grab them by the shoulders, poke them in the chest, things that will aggravate people like me and you. Someone that was not afraid to do that, because right now I feel like the guys don't want to tell each other anything. Maybe they do. I know one of the players stormed off the court. Was it Harkless, I think?
Yeah, Harkless.
Yeah. I mean, someone that's not afraid to do that, but also contribute. Because maybe, let's say Tristan Thompson, he's very vocal, right? He's very vocal. He doesn't play a whole lot. Maybe he's the guy, but I don't know if they're thinking, oh, well, that fool doesn't even play, so I'm not going to listen to him. I don't know what their mindset is. You know what I mean? I have no idea what their mindset is. So it would have to be a veteran that contributes on the court too, so they can lead by example, if you guys understand what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. That's leadership is one of the key things that we've talked about for, I can't even say how long, that this team needs, and I think it does need to come from it needs to come from a player first and foremost, but it also needs to come from the coach. You're 100% right about that. I think Doug Christie would be a really good person in that role. The guy is, he just looks and sounds like a leader to me. Everything that he says, he's the type of person that makes you want to follow him. I'm not totally sure whether it's the right timing for him and this team to be the guy moving forward. I agree with you. I think a veteran guy, somebody who has been through everything in the NBA in terms of coaching, which Alvin Gentry has, but he hasn't really stuck with a team and eventually became a winner. Yeah. They need to bring in somebody who can lead and help teach this team how to win, because we talk about building culture up and changing the culture, changing the atmosphere of this franchise. That's going to be a monumental effort. It's going to have to come from somebody who, a player like Jimmy Butler that I'm just seeing in the chat here. That would help a ton. I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to be available anytime soon, but
they need a guy like that.
They need they need that mentality.
Yeah. I think we all agree that they need a dog. That's something that we've been talking about. And, we hoped De'Aaron Fox was going to be that guy. We hoped, Davion Mitchell was going to be that guy. If I were to name, a couple guys like that in the league, it's going to be Draymond Green. It's going to be Marcus Smart. It's going to be maybe I would say Patrick Beverley is probably like a fringe guy. Not that I would want him to be the starting point guard in Sacramento, but he has that kind of attitude. I want to elaborate on this a little bit more, but Tanvir's got a question about Desmond Bane. Cal, you think he's available or achievable for Sacramento?
I'd be surprised if Desmond Bane was available. I agree with you that he is the exact type of player that the team needs. I would love for him to grab him. However, on the flip side of that, I think that because of Desmond Bane, rising in this league and Memphis being a rising team, somebody like Dillon Brooks might actually be available.
Yep.
And Dillon Brooks, I think, would be a great addition to this team as well. He's a really good defender. He has that dog mentality. I mean, you heard the announcers. I can't remember if it was Kyle Draper or Mark Jones, but they just kept talking about Dillon Brooks the last time the Grizzlies were in Sacramento, about how he wouldn't stop running his mouth. He's talking to the bench. He has that mentality, that attitude, and he's a great outside shooter. So I think he checks a lot of boxes for the Kings, and he's somebody I would call Memphis and ask about both of those guys. Yeah. But I think that because Desmond Bane's a little younger and he seems to be on a higher potential or trajectory in the league, Dillon Brooks might actually be somebody you could grab from them.
Yeah, I agree. Alex, did you get a chance to see that 3-team trade I posted between Kings, Spurs, Pacers?
You know what? I didn't. I was filming my recap, and like I said, I usually do that. Then I join your guys's, so no, I didn't get a chance to see it.
Okay, I'll throw that on the screen here real quick for you. So it's basically, Kings receiving Miles Turner, Zach Collins, Lonnie Walker. Spurs received De'Aaron Fox. Pacers received DeJounte Murray. Maybe the Kings need to send out a first-round pick, maybe 2 picks, maybe to the Spurs, maybe one to the Pacers, something to make this deal work. But, when I look at a deal like this, I say, well, the Spurs are trying to rebuild. If you have De'Aaron Fox, maybe 2 first-round picks in this upcoming draft, that might help you. If you're the Pacers, you've had issues, with your point guard staying healthy. Maybe you want DeJounte Murray. You want to move on from Miles Turner. This to me looks like a trade that helps all 3 teams, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Oh, man. Like I said, I don't want to trade Fox, but that's very enticing. I'm not going to lie to you guys. That's super enticing because it fixes some of our problems. You know what I mean? Right now, we have all kinds of problems, but that's an enticing trade for sure. Oh gosh, I would definitely think about it. Gun to my head, and maybe just say yes, because whatever's going on right now is not working, and definitely down for something new. Oh man, that's good though. I'm gonna have to screenshot that later on when I see this, because that was good. I like that one. It's making me think about trading Fox out of here. So
I stay up late at night thinking about these things, man. It's just one of those things where I'm in bed and I'm like, oh wait, what about this?
Yeah. No, dude, that's fantastic, man. I'll say this: I would definitely think about it, and gun to my head, I would just probably do it, just because I don't want to think about it. Just do it, and let's see what happens later. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than ask for I forget the way that goes. So I think I would just do. Yeah, there you go. Man, I think, dude, that sounds so enticing, dude. I like it. I would still be hesitant because of Fox, and I think, I don't know when's the next time we're going to get a player of his caliber here in Sacramento. Maybe Tyrese will develop into that. He's already making great strides this year, but that trade's good. I'll give it to you. That's a pretty solid trade.
Awesome. All right, I think we're going to let you go here. Anything else you want to say to the fans? Any last comments on Kings or anything else you want to mention?
Just want to say, keep the faith, man. I don't want to see any of you bastards be Warrior fans next year, or Laker fans, or Clippers fans, or just because you guys know how it is. I remember in high school, just so many. Bro, I thought you were a Kings fan. Oh no, I'm from the Bay. Oh no, I'm from. I have a cousin that lives in LA. I'm gonna be a Laker fan now. I'm tired of that. We stuck here. We're here still. You guys are drinking beers. I'm drinking protein shakes. I'm going to stay a Kings fan, man. I'm gonna keep being a Kings fan and keep the faith. We will make it. We will support each other. We will love each other. We'll watch your channel so you guys can consult us through this, this tragicness of what it is being a Kings fan. But just keep the faith and watch my recaps, watch your guys' stuff. Mine's a real quick one, and just take it off like a band-aid. But I appreciate you guys being very in-depth and doing all the balls deep stuff that us other Kings reviewers don't do. So just keep on keeping on, guys. And remember, grow the pump.
Thanks, man. We'll definitely have to catch a Kings game with you next time we're in Sacramento. Maybe we'll get a pump at the gym or something like that. We'd love to join you. But yeah, dude, you're doing awesome work. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll have you again soon.
Sounds great. Later, boys.
Thanks, Alex. Good luck to your Raiders this weekend.
All right, I see Dennis here in the chat. Tyrese is the guy, dude. I gotta agree, man. I gotta agree. This is not a knock on De'Aaron Fox at all. I just love everything I see from Tyrese Haliburton. We talked about he's got things he needs to work on. I don't like the jump and then pass the ball. I don't like that he doesn't have a left hand, but that's okay. Every guy in the league has things they need to work on. LeBron James still works on things in the offseason with year 17. I'm confident that Tyrese has the mentality. I'm confident that he has, everything that it takes to become a superstar in the NBA. And I'm just happy to have him on the Sacramento Kings.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we're all happy to have Tyrese Haliburton. Imagine if they didn't draft him and they took somebody else. Maybe that player would have ended up being good, but I don't know if they would have been as good as quickly. And De'Aaron Fox is a really, really good player, and he's an incredibly unique player in this league. There really aren't many people like him, but you can't win with just one guy. It's about building a team, and who are the pieces that you need to surround around your go-to player or your main player. And as we talked about the other day, I think Tyrese has a higher success rate with a higher percentage of NBA players than De'Aaron Fox does because of his skill set.
Yeah, I agree. And, Bryce, I see you here. He says Fox is the guy. We just don't have pieces around him. And, I agree with you, but I also feel like Tyrese's game is so much more well-rounded that it's easier to find guys that fit with Tyrese than guys that fit with De'Aaron Fox. I feel like if you have a guy like De'Aaron Fox, you basically have one type of play style that you can play that benefits him, and that's play as fast as you can, versus Tyrese Haliburton can succeed in multiple different play styles, and that can help a lot of guys around you as well. So, just want to mention that there. Anything else you want to mention here before we move on?
No, I'm good. Thanks to our guests today. That was great.
Yeah, thank you.
First time in the podcast history we had two guests in one show.
Yes, thank you, Skip. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate you guys both joining us. We'll have to have you both again soon. And if you all would like to be a guest on our show in the future, make sure you let us know down below in the comments. We'd be happy to have you all. All right, guys, we're going to take another quick break here. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at the next week of Kings basketball with Kings Crusade. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings channel for fans by fans. The Kings continue their crusade to get back to the playoffs. Next up is the LA Lakers. If you're a Kings fan, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you'd like to join the Royal family with Calvin and I, consider subscribing to the channel. Also, if you'd like to get notifications on when we put out a new video, consider hitting that cowbell as well. And if you'd like to cop some awesome Royal Rebounds gear, make sure you check out royalrebounds.com. You can also see us on Twitter, Royal_Rebounds, or on Instagram at Royal Rebounds. All right, Cal, I'm gonna let you handle here Lakers are up next.
Lakers are up next. Yeah, the Kings are 1-2 so far against the Lakers this season, but it's rivalry. It's a rivalry game, right? So you throw everything out the window, except the Kings are so much worse than the Lakers. So we've seen the Lakers play a lot of different lineups against the Kings because they've had players out. Now, good night, Fred. Thanks for being here tonight. LeBron is playing center all of a sudden. He's scoring 40 points a game and dropping dimes, and he looks like he's 25 again, and all that stuff is great. But I went back and I kind of reviewed the last 3 matchups, and one of them you have to take with a grain of salt because it was that crazy triple overtime game.
That was
so the stats are a little inflated in that game, obviously. But my keys going into this one, number one, and this should probably be number one or in the top 3 for the Kings every night, is take care of the ball. The Kings did a good job of that tonight, but against the Lakers, they've been awful. They're averaging 18 turnovers a game in the 3 games against the Lakers. The fewest turnovers they've had in any game playing LA this season was 15, and that was in the triple overtime game. So that tells you that they really have to take care of the ball. And the Lakers have been really bad all year in turnovers. The Kings haven't done a good job of taking advantage of that. Number 2 is don't leave Malik Monk. There should be somebody glued to him for the entire game. He has been killing Sacramento this year. Yeah. In the 3 games he's played against the Kings, he's averaging 22 points a game and shooting 57% from 3. His numbers for the year overall are 12 points per game and 39% from 3. So I don't know what it is about Sacramento other than the fact that they play bad defense. They need to be focused on where Malik Monk is at all times.
I think De'Aaron Fox and him maybe have a pact together.
Maybe they went
to college.
Yeah, that's true. Like, that's true. There's a connection there.
I know you need another job. We'll let you play well against us.
Yeah. And then number 3 is going to be points in the paint. And this is something that I harp on a lot with Sacramento, but it's been a big deal in the games that they've played against the Lakers. LA has outscored Sacramento 186-158 in the paint in those 3 games. The Lakers have scored 62 points in the paint in every single game so far in this season series. It's something that the Kings need to do more of, even though I know it's tough against the tall trees like the Lakers and the Cavs have, and they need to find a way to force a few more contested shots at the rim from LA.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Anthony Davis is out. That's a positive. This is a Lakers team that has high aspirations for the season, but, they're still missing some guys. So the Kings have to capitalize here. We need to get Richaun Holmes back. I don't know what's going on with him. Some guys, the COVID protocols linger longer than others. But, we got 2 days here until this game. Richaun needs to come back very soon. But, the Kings are probably going to lose this game against the Lakers. And, I don't want to be negative here, but, I'm just looking at reality. However, I do have to say I'm excited for the 3 games after the Lakers game because we have 2 games, Friday and Sunday, against the Rockets. They're both at home. And then we have a game on next week, Wednesday, against the Pistons. So that's 3 games against 2 of the worst teams in the NBA after this Lakers game. I'm looking forward to those games, but who knows? Maybe they'll lose these games and I'll be pissed off even more.
It's very possible. Maybe they'll lose all these games and a trade will come out of it.
Yeah, we still have 8 days until my prediction of the Kings making a trade. So
that feels like 8 years at this point.
It's coming up very, very fast. All right, Cal, I think I'm ready to wrap up the show here. You got anything else you want to say?
We're on to LA.
All right, guys. On to LA here. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We appreciate you all in the chat. Make sure you guys hit that like button down below. If you'd like to join the Royal family with Calvin and I, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We put out fresh Kings content almost daily. We're here after every game, drinking beers, having therapy sessions with you all, and we just love it. So we hope you all will join us again soon. Make sure you hit that like button, and we'll see you all in the next time. In the meantime, go Kings.